America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. You understand what happened yesterday? Do you understand what happened yesterday? Because it's mind-boggling. It's troubling. It's unprecedented. It's huge. And look, I get it's the middle of August. Kids going back to school. Still enjoying that last gasp of the summertime. You don't have a time to pay attention to the news. I get that most Americans in general don't pay enough attention to what goes on every single day. I get all of that. But man, oh man, most Americans right now, this morning, this Tuesday morning, have no clue as to what went down at the White House yesterday. Do you understand this? Keith, show me that picture of all the European leaders. And look at this. At the White House yesterday, this was historic, Fox News and everybody else said. The most important leaders from Europe flew in, changed their plans at the drop of a dime, and they all got on their planes and they flew into Washington, D.C. to be with Ukraine's President Zelensky. Macron, Maloney, Starmer, they're all there. The head of Germany, the head of NATO, the head of the EU, they were all there. They all dropped all of their plans to come to the White House. Look at that shot. A historic meeting at the White House yesterday. Europe's finest, most important minds right now with Zelensky. They all got together with Donald Trump. It was a historic meeting. Do you understand what happened yesterday? Thanks, Keith. And oh my God, the Trump supporters and all the Trump cheerleaders on Fox News and elsewhere yesterday. Look at what Donald Trump did. He brought an unprecedented gathering of our allies all together one day in the White House. Oh my God, Donald Trump, Mr. Peace, give him the Nobel Prize now. Do you understand what happened yesterday? I'll tell you what happened yesterday. The most important leaders in Europe dropped their plans, changed their plans, rearranged their lives for the past couple of days, and all flew into Washington, D.C. because they don't fucking trust Donald Trump. They all flew to Washington, D.C. to make sure that the toddler in the White House doesn't fuck things up even further. They all came to Washington to protect Zelensky, to make sure that Trump and J.D. Vance didn't shiv Zelensky again, beat him up in the White House. These leaders came to Washington, D.C. to protect Zelensky. They came to Washington, D.C. because they don't trust Donald Trump. They changed their lives and rushed to the White House because Donald Trump in Alaska 3 days earlier fucked things up royally with Putin. They came because Trump's a pathological liar. They came because they don't trust Trump. They came because Trump left Alaska, right? Changing everything he wanted to do at the drop of a hat to do everything that Putin wanted to do. And these European leaders who've been standing with Zelensky for the past 3.5 years said, oh my God, this is trouble. Donald Trump is back in Putin's grasp. We all got to go to Washington to show our support for Zelensky. It was unprecedented. They all came because they don't trust Trump. They all came to Washington. I mean, think about that. What happened yesterday? I'll tell you what happened yesterday. The president of the United States is an absolute traitor. I mean, not only is he a pathological narcissist and a pathological liar and just a really bad, stupid man, he also is a traitor who, in this great fight for the free world, Ukraine and the free world, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, doesn't stand with the free world. He stands with Putin. And every one of those European leaders knows it. And they saw the way that Trump behaved in Alaska. Trump went into Alaska, ceasefire, ceasefire. There's got to be a ceasefire. I'm going to get a ceasefire here in Alaska. And then he has the meeting with Putin, and Trump says, we don't need a ceasefire anymore. Who cares about a ceasefire? And Macron and Hertz and Starmer and Maloney, they all came in yesterday together, a chorus together, talking about how important a ceasefire is. They were at the White House for one reason and one reason only. Because they don't trust Donald Trump. They know Donald Trump is on Putin's side, and they are moving heaven and earth, doing everything they can do to make sure Trump doesn't fuck this thing up even more. Trump didn't invite them. Zelensky didn't invite them. They demanded to be there. They invited themselves. Like there were actually Trump cheerleaders on Fox last night talking about how brilliant it was that Donald Trump arranged this unprecedented gathering of European leaders. Trump didn't arrange anything. They told Trump, we're coming in. We're going to stand by Zelensky. We're going to huddle with Zelensky in the White House to make sure you don't fucking beat him up again like you did at the end of February. Trump didn't invite them. Macron and the rest of them, they invited themselves. There is no way on God's green earth these European leaders who have been valiantly standing by Zelensky in Ukraine the past 3.5 years, there's no way on God's green earth they're going to leave. They were going to leave Zelensky alone with Trump again. They came in to babysit Trump. I mean, I love babies. So I'm always reticent to call Trump a toddler. But use that image. It's like Europe's finest and most important. They all said, oh my God, we got to fly to Washington, D.C. Monday because Trump is a toddler and he made a big, big mess Friday with Putin in Alaska. Took off his diaper and was just spreading shit all over the place. And these European leaders flew in to make sure the toddler didn't mess things up even more. They're doing all they can do to counter Putin because they know Trump loves Putin. They know Trump worships Putin. And they know privately that Trump's on Putin's side. So they're doing all they can to make sure that Trump, who really only cares about getting a Nobel Peace Prize, doesn't throw Zelensky and Ukraine completely under the bus. When I started this morning and said, do you understand? Do you understand what really happened yesterday? Yeah, it was historic. It was unprecedented. But think about what's so unprecedented. These are really big, important people. The leader of France and Germany and Italy and the UK, NATO and the EU. These are really important people with big, important schedules. They watched Friday night what went down in Alaska. And over the weekend, they all got together and they all agreed, they said and agreed, oh my God, this is a disaster. Trump and Putin, again, are ganging up on Zelensky. There's no way we can let Zelensky go to the White House all by himself. What we all have to do to make sure that we can try to put Trump back on the right path, we all have to drop our whatever our plans and schedules were for Sunday and Monday, and we all have to get on a plane and fly to Washington, D.C. and be in the White House next to Zelensky. And we got to go there and we got to flatter Trump and we got to pat him on the head and we got to pacify him and we got to give him toys and candy to make sure he doesn't mess up. We have to be there. That's what's unprecedented. These European leaders all came to DC because they do not trust the president of the United States. That's what's unprecedented. Not the gathering itself. What's unprecedented is the fact that they all got together and said, we have to be there. Because this guy is fucking things up big time. I mean, Trump was on Fox News this morning, and we've got the audio of it. Listen to what Trump said just this morning.
Mr. President, did y'all discuss any land swaps yesterday? Because we've talked a lot about the Donbass region. And what was the feeling in the room? What did the other leaders say about this?
Well, they understand. Look, everybody can play cute and this and that, but, you know, Ukraine's going to get their life back. They're going to stop having people killed all over the place, and they're going to get a lot of land. But this was a war, and Russia is a powerful military nation, you know, whether people like it or not. It's a powerful nation. It's a much bigger nation. It's not a war that should have been started. You don't do that. You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size. And, you know, military experts look, if it wasn't for the greatest military equipment, we make the greatest military equipment in the world.
You can stop, Keith. That was Donald Trump this morning for about the 232nd time blaming Ukraine for starting the war. That was Trump this morning blaming Ukraine for starting the war. You don't take on You don't take on a country and a military 10 times your size. Putin started the war. Putin invaded Ukraine. That was Donald Trump this morning blaming Ukraine once again for starting this war. You're Zelensky, or you're the head of any European NATO country, and you hear the President of the United States again. Again, this is about the 200th time he's said this. You hear the President of the United States again blame Ukraine for starting the war. What the fuck are you supposed to think? Do you trust him? You're Macron, France. Do you trust Trump to do the right thing when Donald Trump still blames Ukraine for starting the war? Hell yeah, they had to be in the White House yesterday. Hell yeah, they had to be right next to Zelensky. Hell yeah, they had to be in the Oval Office. Because, scary truth, none of them rightly trust Trump. And there's no way they should trust Trump, because he's not on their side. He's not on the side of the free world. He's not on Ukraine's side. He's on Vladimir Putin's side. And no matter what comes out of yesterday, you can be assured Donald Trump is going to push Ukraine and push Zelensky to accept an end of this war on Putin's terms. Give up land, a lot of land. Give up Ukraine, a lot of Ukraine to Putin, and then this thing can be over. And our European allies will continue to push back and fight back against Trump and Putin. I mean, look at it like this, and I'll close with this. In this negotiation, right, Putin invades Ukraine, starts the war. On one side right now, you have Putin and Trump. On one side right now, trying to negotiate an end to this. You want peace, right? You want peace? Well, here's what you got. You got to bring both sides to the table. On one side, you've got Putin and Trump. They're on one side. On the other side, you've got Ukraine, Zelensky, all of our European allies, NATO, and the free world. So you've got NATO and the free world are going to try to negotiate an end to this thing with the other side, Putin and the President of the United States. Way to go, MAGA. Way to go, MAGA. Way to go, my former political party. When I was a little boy, man, right? Soviet Union was the evil empire. 40-some years later, the American president stands with the evil empire. Reagan to Trump. Look at that transformation in 40 years. Hey, I got good news for everybody. I got good news. And I suppose Donald Trump needs to be thanked for this good news. Americans right now are more pro-immigrant and pro-immigration than they've ever been. Now, that's a good thing, because immigration's a really good thing for America. But it's a really good, cool thing. Right now, 7 months into Trump's term, and right now, according to the polling, Americans are more pro-immigrant and more pro-immigration than they've ever been. And it's really all because of Trump. It's all because of Donald Trump. It's all because of Trump and his cruel deportation policies. I mean, look at the numbers. PBS, put the if you've got that lead there, Keith. 8 in 10 Americans, 80% of Americans right now, say immigration's a really good thing. That's the highest number ever recorded in the last 35 years. 80% of Americans believe immigration is a good thing. By the way, that number was 60% last year. So it's jumped up. 20%, only 20% of Americans right now think immigration's a bad thing. That was 32% last year. 32% of Americans last year believed immigration was a bad thing. This is the highest level of support for immigration in 35 years. It's important to note that according to this PBS News poll, and this is consistent with all the other groups polling immigration right now, negative views of immigration increased every year during Biden. So every year that Joe Biden was president, Americans became less and less pro-immigrant, pro-immigration. Then Donald Trump gets elected, and away he goes, doing his cruel, un-American shit. And looky here, 7 months later, the American people are more pro-immigration than they've ever been. Two-thirds of Republicans right now say they're pro-immigrant, pro-immigration. That's up from 39% last year. 80% of independents, that's up from 46%. 80% of independents right now are pro-immigrant, pro-immigration. More Americans want immigration to this country increased right now, according to this poll, this PBS poll, than ever before. I want to say that again, because that's a really good thing, because immigration's a really good thing. More Americans, according to this PBS poll on immigration, more Americans want immigration increased than ever before. More Americans, by the way, than ever before want a pathway to citizenship in place. This is good news. Because of Trump disappearing people off of our streets without any due process, because of Trump going into Home Depot parking lots and 7-Eleven parking lots and daycare centers and schools and hospitals and courthouses and all the rest, and hanging outside of baseball games and all the rest, because of Trump's immigration cops fully masked, going onto our streets and beating up and shooting at and tasing innocent immigrants. And these videos and these images in the American people's face every fucking day for the past few months, it's no surprise that Americans are becoming more pro-immigrant, because I've always believed, and I said this yesterday in a video, what do you want America to be? Is this what you want America to be? Trump's immigration cops last week detained a 6-year-old girl from the Bronx and her mother and her teenage brother. They were at an immigration check-in appointment in a courthouse. And they went in, and ICE grabbed them, disappeared them, and then took that 6-year-old New York City girl and her mother and sent them to a Texas detention center 2,000 miles away, sent her teenage brother to a detention center in New Jersey, so separated the family. None of these three, including the 6-year-old girl who should be getting ready for school right now she sits in a fucking detention center in Texas, 2,000 miles away from her school. None of these three, detained and separated by ICE, have criminal records. And this kind of stuff is going on in living color every single day. And the American people are seeing it every single day. And the American people are recoiling from it because the American people are answering the question, is this what you want America to be? And most Americans are saying, hell no. Hell no, this is not what I want America to be, Joe. I want America to have a border and defend that border. And if you're a violent criminal and you're in this country illegally, Joe, I want you gotten out of here, right? But if you're an immigrant who's been in this country for 20 or 30 years, right, taking advantage of a broken immigration system that our politicians and big business created, and you've been paying taxes and contributing to our economy, I don't want ICE grabbing you off of the street and roughing you up and detaining you. You're the mother of a Marine. I don't want ICE, these masked, thuggish ICE cops grabbing the mother of a Marine and detaining her. No, this is not what I want America to be. And look, I engage with MAGA every day. I know most of MAGA wants this, but most of MAGA isn't most of America, and most of America doesn't want this. And I still believe, I do believe that this issue, the cruelty, this basic un-American cruelty that we are seeing every day on American streets, masked, unidentified immigration cops grabbing and detaining and deporting innocent people. This, more than any other issue, is going to lose the House and maybe the Senate for Republicans next year. But good news. What Trump's doing is an ugly, dark, cruel, extreme overreaction to the Democratic Party, my new political party, that did not pay attention to this issue of immigration. Look the other way when it came to the border and immigration. They did, and Democrats paid a price for that. So along comes Trump, and that pendulum swings over there to a deep, dark, fearful, ugly, extreme place. A place that most Americans don't want to be in. And it's reflected in these numbers because of what Trump is doing. More and more Americans are becoming more and more pro-immigrant. This PBS poll, just the latest poll, that shows clearly Americans now, 7 months into Donald Trump, are more pro-immigrant and more pro-immigration than they've ever been. Thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you. I had one other thing, Keith, but I'll stop there. Do me a favor, everybody. Subscribe to my Substack. There it is below. See it? It's really cool. We scroll it the whole show. I don't know how Keith does that, but he does that. Social Contract with joewalsh.substack.com. Go to that Substack. Everything I do, say, think, write, talk about, it's all there. Kind of like, what would I call it? It's kind of like Nerve Central right there. Go to the Substack, go to my Substack, subscribe to my Substack. Shoot me an email if you want to shoot me an email about anything. The Social Contract with joewalsh@gmail.com. That's all one word. The Social Contract with joewalsh@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. It's Tuesday. Make it a really good day, everybody. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.